In this next inventory video for Sage Intacct, we will discuss a simple method on how to distribute additional charges that can be included in the inventory cost for an item. For example, you might have a vendor that's charging you freight, sales tax. Those amounts come at total on the invoice, but there might be 20, 30 items on that invoice that you're ordering for inventory, and you want to take those charges and distribute them up to the item. So we're going to show you a simple method on how to do that. Let's go take a look. The first thing we need to do is make sure during the entry of this AP bill that you're going to need to do this through the purchasing module. We're going to need to make sure we have an invoice transaction definition set up that we can actually enter those charges into. In most cases, you have probably a purchase order for stock, then you receive it, and then you turn it into an invoice in purchasing already. But if you don't, you're going to need to set one up, and you don't necessarily need to turn on receiving or purchasing even. But what you can't do is you can't go into accounts payable and continue to enter that bill through AP bill, because it won't allow us the tools that we need to get these items distributed properly. So we're going to need to go over to the purchasing module at top level under setup, and we're going to need to go into our transaction definitions, either create a new one from scratch or go into an existing one that you use, and I'm going to show you a few things that need to be turned on. So if I go in my list of transaction definitions, I have a lot of different examples in here, but we're going to create and use one called vendor stock invoices. So my normal flow here is I do create a purchase order for stock, then I actually receive it, and then I turn it into a vendor stock invoice. For today's example, we're just going to go right directly into the vendor stock invoice. So if I go into this definition that's already set up and I click edit, I'll show you where you need to be. So under the general tab, we're going to scroll down. You'll see here, there's your inventory setup. So we're going to add to our on-hand value for quantity and value. But after that, in accounting, you're going to see an area here called transaction subtotals. And we're going to need to enable those if they're not already enabled. You may have them on for other reasons, and that's okay. You can still add on rows to whatever your existing enable subtotals is. So if we scroll down here, we're going to click the enable subtotals button. And you're going to see some rows that are available now. And this is where you can enter in as many rows as you need. If you want to break out separate charges and multiple lines, you can. So in this case, let's say I had freight. And in freight, I'm going to use a freight line. And this is going to be a charge. And it's going to apply to line 0, which basically means apply it to the subtotal before these subtotals, okay? So apply to line, and this is going to be an amount. We're going to enter in a flat amount here. We're not going to put a value in because that's going to be determined per invoice. Now, we don't need a debit or credit set up in here because what we're going to do is turn on this field, apportionated. Okay, so what this means is distribute this line to each individual line item in the body of this invoice. And this is the key, and this is what's going to allow us to put these charges inside and distribute equally across all of the different stock items. So we want that checked. And then you might get charged sales tax and you want to do the same thing for. So I'm going to type in sales tax here and do the same thing. Say charges here. They're going to be 0. Amount, and I'm going to check the same box. What you do not want to do here is check this as a is tax. This is used specifically for advanced taxes, and if we check that box, it's not going to allow us to distribute it back to the items. So you're going to want to just fill that out as sales tax amount and leave it and check it off here. And that's all you need to do here for setup. So go ahead and click save, and we should be good to go now. So now let's go ahead and enter in a transaction. So I'm going to go right into purchasing. And like I said, I'm just going to go and enter in a vendor stock invoice from scratch. So I'm going to hit the plus button here. And go ahead and fill in my vendor. I'll say it's Buffalo Building. When I get down to the detail here, I have a test item. I have a test filter set up. So we're gonna buy some more test filters to the GC warehouse. And let's say I'm going to order 50 of these. And the unit price is $20 each. But in addition to that $1,000, down below here, now you'll notice I have a subtotal section. And so right here now, I can come down to my subtotal and I can key in, let's say they charge me $100 for freight, and it was 5% sales tax, so it was $50 for the sales tax. So you can fill these down here in the subtotals now, and you can either click post and it'll do the total calculation here, or I like to see it, so I like to click the calculate subtotals button here. And then you'll see there's my total invoice. So they charged me $1,150. But now I'm going to take that $150 and redistribute it into this item here. So if you had multiple items, that's great. You just keep keying them in and it will distribute it equally across the board. So I'm going to go ahead and click post. Oh, and I need a vendor document number, a vendor invoice number. And I'll click post here. And let's go see what happens. So what you'll notice here now, if I want to go look at my general ledger entry, you'll get your first glimpse at it. So if I click view here, under the posting detail, you'll notice it's charging the full amount of the invoice to the inventory account because that's what the detail, the body was set at. Okay. Now, if we go look at an inventory valuation in the inventory module under all reports, inventory valuation, I can come into here and I can say for my test filter, view, you'll notice the inventory is valuing at a $23 item cost, which is the $3 additional that it turned out was on those additional charges. So it actually valuated it correctly. And then we could take it a step further. And if I now go and issue it to a project, let's say we're going to use some of these on a project, I can come in and grab a project. I'm going to grab a cost code here, and I'm going to say material. And when I grab my test filter, you will notice it's going to distribute it at $23. Now, this all depends on your inventory costing method. If you're FIFO, LIFO, average cost, I'm average in this case, but this is the only charge I have on this item right now. So you'll notice it's going to charge it correctly, taking it out of inventory and charging it to the project at $23 per item. So this successfully took the additional charges, the freight and the sales tax, and redistributed it back to the item cost in a simple fashion. Shouldn't be any more work than entering in an AP bill normally is, and you should be good to go. Thank you for watching, and talk to you guys soon. Thank you.